Hey everyone, this is John Shaw with Cruise Addicts, along with Michael Consoli from PlanMyCruise.com. He's a 5-time global top producer for Viking Cruises, and he can answer all your questions if you have any travel agent questions. And he's here today to actually help us with some Viking information. Michael, we had some amazing news today from Viking. They actually have some new 2024 sailings for the the Mississippi River cruises. Can you tell us about those?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the most interesting things is that the 15-day Mississippi River cruise, when it first came out, sold in like a matter of weeks. So the fact that they've already released 2024 really is an indication of demand on those itineraries, and that's probably one of the most exciting additions to their fleet, having that new Viking Mississippi. So, we've been waiting a long time for somebody to come in and, have a different offering than what we have on the Mississippi now, which is, American Cruise Line and the Delta Steamboat Company. So those two are really the only ones that are on there now, with some exceptions. But yeah, we're really looking forward to Viking being on the Mississippi.
And I was trying to do this picture here. It's kind of covering our faces, but you can see the beautiful rendering here of the Viking Mississippi. What a beautiful ship she is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so interesting. I mean, you just want to get on board right now. It looks amazing, and just from the renderings, it looks like it has all the features that we've enjoyed on the Viking Longships. But it's just this magnificent U.S. product now that I can't wait to see come to life.
Yeah, I mean, it's really going to be interesting to see their first ship that's going to be U.S. flagged. So very exciting.
So once again, thank you all for joining us. My name is John Chow. Of course, Michael Consoli from PlanMyCruise.com. And like I said, he's a top global producer, not 1 year, not 2 years, not 3, but 5 years in a row. And we have the pleasure to have him here to answer all your Viking cruises as people still come into the group. One thing great about this live stream that we have is you can actually ask questions right now. You don't need to pick up the phone. You don't need to write an email. You can actually ask a question. We have a short period of time today compared to some of our longer ones. So if you have a comment, question, or anything like that, please write a comment below there, and we'll actually get to it. It'll actually let me and Michael know that there's a question waiting for us, and we can get to it live right here in the live stream. So we've got several things we're going to cover here. We're going to go back to the different things that we're going to talk about today. And the next thing is actually Richard Fain. We're going to go a little bit Royal Caribbean here and just U.S. cruising overall, because even though many of us are Viking cruisers in the Viking group, cruising in the U.S. has been really, obviously shut down for over a year now. And Richard Fain of the Royal Caribbean group actually had some information, and we're going to pull his video in here. Oh.
Recently, however, the pace.
We're going to go back here a little bit. So let's join us and listen to what Richard Fain had to say about some recent things that happened here, some conversations he had with the CDC.
Recently, however, the pace of progress has accelerated, and I thought it might be helpful if I presented my perspective on the current state of play all in one place, rather than the confusing set of random bits that we've all been seeing. A few things have happened to precipitate this change. You all know about the changes in the science, the vaccines, the testing, and the contact tracing. They've all dramatically improved, and that improvement has driven a fresh look at the state of affairs. Add in the arrangements we're making with the local communities to deal with an incident if it occurs, and you have a dramatically improved situation. We are also seeing a change in the mood in the country. While cases are seeing an uptick recently, the longer-term trend has been very encouraging, and that has driven a mood to gradually open up our society. The other important change is that we now have data from operations around the world. Over 400,000 people have taken cruises. That successful experience has not only given us comfort about the safety of cruising, it has given us data to discuss with the CDC and other health authorities. Based on that data, over 30 countries have already granted permission for cruising, and we're optimistic that the CDC will too. You have also helped. Your voice and the voices of so many small businesses across America have demonstrated that there is a strong desire to see cruising treated like so many other businesses and allowed to operate under safe guidelines. That loud voice has been clear, and it seems to be being heard in Washington and in Atlanta. Based on the advances in science and the data provided by our experiences abroad, the CDC is engaging in a constructive dialogue with us in the industry to enable a return to service in a safe and healthy manner. It is obvious that sharing data, information, and viewpoints drives a better result for everyone, and we're pleased to have the opportunity to do that. We're also pleased that the science and the data have advanced so far in just a few months. The CDC has publicly stated that this could enable cruising to restart as early as mid-July. We agree with that assessment, and we're more optimistic than ever that a realistic path forward can be achieved in that time frame.
All right, Michael, I think Richard Fain said quite a bit there, that he not only has the CDC actually sat down with Royal Caribbean Group and many of the cruise lines, there's finally a back and forth dialogue we've all been waiting for, with some of the frustration that I know you and I can speak for myself. We've all been frustrated that it seems like there hasn't been a dialogue. And here's the chairman of the Royal Caribbean Group coming out and saying there is an active dialogue, and he feels that there's a real potential for a return to cruising mid-July.
Yeah, it's very encouraging. Look, we all want to get back to it, so I mean, and I think that it's great that there's a back and forth and a dialogue. And I also think it's great that we have alternatives, like, the Celebrity and Royal Caribbean sailing out of St. Martin in the Bahamas and that kind of thing, Norwegian out of Bermuda. We're going to see a little bit more of that, I think, while we wait for the CDC guidelines to come through. But other than that, I mean, it's great to know that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and then we're going to start seeing these ships start moving again.
Yeah, it was just great to hear that, and I want to share that with you and everybody else, that finally there's some light at the end of the tunnel, like you said. Hopefully we start one way or the other. And I'm going to talk about a few things, not to be pessimistic, but yesterday some stuff came out from the CDC, so we'll get a little bit farther. We'll kind of touch on that towards the end here. The next big thing to talk about is you had actually posted about this on the group earlier, about some special opportunities on summer Iceland itineraries aboard the Viking Jupiter. And you said that they weren't listed yet on the website for July 13th and July 20th. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, so they released 2 more dates this morning. I don't know if people are aware, but the Iceland sailings that Viking offered for June and July sold in a matter of a week. They sold out. So they added 2 more dates on a different ship. So the Jupiter will be coming to Reykjavik and doing those 7-night round trip Reykjavik sailings. And those 2 dates are July 13th and July 20th. And already some of the lower category cabins and the higher suites are sold out. So it's really, and they just started this morning with those at 9 a.m. So it's really been a very popular itinerary. And there, as everybody knows, there's the immense pent up demand. People are ready to travel, Yeah.
So what year is this? Is this year?
Yeah, this year.
Oh, wow.
I almost answered your question, John, with it's 2021, but because you said, what year is it? No, because some of us have been asking that for the past year, right? Yeah, no, they are definitely traveling in June and July of this year.
Well, that's great, because you go from 2024 bookings to now 2020. That's anything 2021 is an anomaly. So
right.
Okay.
Yeah, on the board, somebody asked on the Facebook page, somebody said, do you think these will really travel? But these itineraries were designed specifically really to meet that demand, and also clearly, cruise in one country so that they are not having to meet the criteria of several different countries along the way.
So if you want to book those, please contact Michael. His contact information is down below, 1-800-913-7245 or michael@planmycruise.com. Give him a call, give him a shout, ask him any question. He's here to help you. Obviously, everybody's walking around with, we're going to get to that. It's about these vouchers and everything. And actually, we'll get to that next here. I've seen this, the second time I've seen this question posted on the board here. Maybe I'll get rid of this slide and thing here. But where people are posting, they're saying, my Viking cruise was canceled 3 different times now, and they're frustrated. They took the 125%, I guess it's a voucher, and now they're frustrated that they're kind of having voucher remorse, I think is what it is, where they've said, it's been canceled several times now. I've had enough. I want my money back. They want to move on. And the person just posted that cancel 3 different cruises, and they got to wait till 2023 for a refund. And I'm sure you're hearing about this quite a bit from your clients as well. What could you tell us about this, Michael?
Yeah, so I mean, it is something that we hear, along the way, especially with the most recent cancellations for 2021. And to be honest, it's really a situation where the guest, when they accepted the 125% voucher, that voucher did have an expiration date. So the rules regarding that voucher were, I don't think they were very clear in the beginning, but they made them clear as the vouchers, were issued. The 125% offer or a refund within 2 weeks, roughly it was a 2-week window that they offered a refund if you declined the voucher. For those guests that accepted the voucher, the voucher had an expiration date. If the voucher was not used by that expiration date, it would be issued a refund at the full value of what they paid for the trip, not the 125%, but the 100% that they paid for the trip if they let that voucher expire. If the voucher was applied to a booking, and the voucher does stipulate this, is once it is applied, it's not transferable, it's not eligible for a refund, but once it's applied to a booking, if that booking is canceled by Viking, then it would revert back to the original terms of, by the expiration date, if the voucher is not utilized, it will be refunded. So I do sympathize with those that are frustrated with that part of the process, because it's disappointing to have a trip canceled once and then have a trip canceled again and then have it canceled again. And the hope by the cruise line is that the 25% will entice them to continue to, kick the can down the road and do another sailing. And it is with all the cruise lines that offer 25%, it is a very generous offer. So a lot of my clients moved from, basic veranda cabins to penthouse verandas or something like that. So it is a real enticement, the 25%. And so there is an incentive for the guest to take that. And so we can't discount that incentive. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like they just kept the money for 3 years. They offered the guest the opportunity of a refund or the 25%. And I don't think anybody could predict, I know I couldn't, when this started, that we would be here now still waiting for these cruises to start. So there is a solution for those that don't want to travel and would prefer to get the refund. The only solution, unfortunately, is that they would have to wait out the expiration of the voucher. And while that is disappointing and frustrating, and I completely understand and sympathize with that, it's the rules that were established from the beginning with the voucher, and they have to have some sort of criteria to follow with this program. So. And all the cruise lines are doing the same thing. I mean, I have clients that are frustrated on other lines. I know that, like on the Royal Caribbean boards, we see people talk about how they were issued a voucher and they can't use it. They have to use it by a certain date or it expires and they can't travel before then. And if they don't use it, they lose it. And there's no option for a refund. And that's very frustrating. All the cruise lines are different. I have to say that I think Viking has handled it really, really well. And they've tried very hard to accommodate their guests. And, all of our great cruise line partners have done the same thing, and with some exceptions.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I just see the frustration. I think it's coming to a boiling point, obviously, with some people.
Yeah.
How awful to have 3 different cruises canceled. But I guess you said like they must have kept kicking it down the can down the road, and they could have canceled it and just gotten a refund rather than taking it.
And look, I think that this is, and I don't want to say that this is, to tout, anything other than the fact any travel advisor, an experienced travel advisor, is going to help you determine that, right? So a lot of times people book this, they book it directly with the cruise line. They're working with an agent at the cruise line who's whole focus is to sell. And don't misunderstand, my job is to sell too, but my job really is to protect my client's investment. I am wholeheartedly invested in my client's happiness and their experience from beginning to end. And so knowing that each client is different. So, being able to talk through the options with the guest and how that will work, and having more of a vested interest in what makes the guest happy rather than just making the sale, is the difference really of having, a valued travel advisor who can help you determine the best course of action. So, I will say that while we've dealt with a lot of challenges as travel agents during COVID and during the pandemic, and a lot of, not so happy things, one of the more positive things that have come out of this, I think, is the value that a travel advisor brings to the table with, the situations that have arisen over the past 12 months with this pandemic. So I think it's given us an opportunity to show our clients really our value more than ever before. Well,
definitely. And we've always heard that. I've been pretty fortunate with my travels, but when something goes bad and you have a professional travel agent working for you, or if you're overseas, you have flight issues, whatever it might be, medical emergencies, they're there. And if not, you're dealing with an 800 number potentially.
Right.
So
with hours on hold, we sit on hold for you instead.
So we're moving on now to, let's see, actually Macron in France said they'll begin lifting restrictions in May for vaccinated travelers. So that's good news.
Yeah.
We're starting to see this whole, we talked about this in our last live stream where we have the vaccinated and the unvaccinated, and where many of the cruise lines are the ones that are offshore that are planned that we know about, or vaccinations are pretty much mandatory.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing that countries are saying you can come travel to France, but you're going to need to be vaccinated.
Right.
But the good thing is we're hearing about, many Americans by the time summer comes will at least be vaccinated or have the opportunity to be vaccinated.
Yeah, and I think that this really goes back to the question that we got last time we did one of these live Facebook lives, is that, people ask, well, is the cruise line going to require that we have a vaccination? And this goes back to that. It really probably is not going to be determined by the cruise line for these ships that are leaving from Europe and other parts of the world. It's really going to be determined by the country that you visit. And so it is very exciting to know that France will open in May to vaccinated U.S. citizens. And that's very exciting. And those people that are traveling on itineraries that are just going to be in France in August and September and October, you can probably bank on the fact that those trips will probably travel if, things go as planned in May and June. Because those cruises, those river cruises like the south of France, Lyon and Provence, or Paris in the heart of Normandy, France's finest, Bordeaux, those will probably travel unencumbered just because they're simply going to be traveling in one country. And, same thing for Portugal's Rivers of Gold. That trip, travels only in Portugal. So, I think as we see these countries open up, it's really very exciting to us. Because we want to see people be able to travel. And, if your trip visits 4 or 5 different countries, that does present a challenge in the environment that we're in right now. But if it's all in one country, then, that's the likelihood of it traveling in the next few months is pretty, starting in August, obviously, is pretty good.
Coming from the destination. So these might be depending from the Bahamas, talking about countries. If they being dictated by countries that are visiting, the Bahamas, places where but you need to be that. Is that correct?
Yeah, and so I don't know why, John, but you're kind of breaking up. So I didn't really hear the question.
Okay. Here a second. But I was saying this is being dictated by the destinations the cruise lines are going to, like the Bahamas and other places. It's being mandated by them. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's more being mandated by them. But now in the Caribbean, like with the Caribbean sailings that Celebrity's doing and Royal's doing, and even the Bermuda and Iceland sailings that are happening with Viking, those, the cruise line has said that they're going to be required to have vaccination. I think with Bermuda and Iceland, it's actually dictated by the country. It may be dictated by the country, by St. Martin and Bahamas as well, but the cruise lines made it very clear up front that anybody traveling on those sailings would be required to have a vaccination. Anybody over the age of 18 would be required to have a vaccination.
And then, I'm just going to touch on this for just briefly, is we're starting to see in conversation where you have people on the groups and whatnot. I mean, there's a big argument going down, as far as people that, well, I'm vaccinated, so I want to be with other vaccinated people, because if 90% of the people are vaccinated on this cruise, they don't want to be held up in port or have problems or different situations or delays because people have to get back to work or life. They don't want to be, some visions of being stranded out there. So there's this whole, well, everybody should be vaccinated or not. There's like two different camps now. Have you noticed this?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of politics getting involved with all this. And I'm hearing about it from other YouTubers and everything else, where there's just these two different camps. And but like we talked about last time, it just seems like it's going in the direction where you're going to have to be vaccinated. So here we are in April. It only takes like a month for the one brand. So get your shot if you feel up to it, so you can get back to traveling.
Get back to travel. That's what we want. So.
Yeah, and also your safety. Our family just lost a really good friend of the family and pastor. It was heartbreaking. And it just happened just a day or so ago, and he wasn't vaccinated.
Yeah, I'm really, really sorry to hear that, John.
Yeah, so it just, and it's a real thing. People are still passing from this terrible, virus that's going around, and it's affecting a lot of people. So we can't take it lightly. I know we've got some questions coming up, but I want to touch on a few other things. I know time is limited today. But on the negative front, not to bring it up too much, but the CDC came out yesterday and said travelers should avoid all travel to the Bahamas, and about also, let's say 80% of the other countries in the world, they put a do not travel. The State Department came out and says do not travel to 80% of the countries in the world. So what's going to happen when these summer cruises come about? And are they going to cancel flights?
I mean, they're not going to cancel flights. They don't, unless there's a travel ban. Okay, they're not going to cancel flights. The CDC's guidelines. I have to say, I think that we have to take them with what we've taken the CDC's information over the past year. We have to weigh it with that as well. So, I mean, not to be political in any way, shape, or form, but I do think that the CDC has become somewhat political, and I think that that's a factor. But in the meantime, we need to, focus and make sure that people feel comfortable traveling. And I think that the guideline does leave it up to the guest if they're comfortable traveling. The guideline that we saw said reconsider travel. So once you've reconsidered it and you decide to get on the plane, I think that's, really up to the guest. And I think we're going to see a lot of people traveling to these different parts of we've had these guidelines in place for the Caribbean, for Mexico. And, I mean, Mexico is, crazy busy. I think I mentioned a few weeks ago, I went to Las Vegas on a family trip, and I mean, I could not believe the number of people that were in Vegas. I mean, so I don't think there's any more danger in traveling to some of these other countries as there would be traveling to some of the other places in the United States. If you're fully vaccinated, you are safer, and you should take that into consideration. But it's a personal choice, and it's what you're comfortable with. So. Personally, I'm going to be very comfortable getting on a ship June 5th when I go on the first sailing that sails in the Caribbean. So very excited about that.
Yeah. So I didn't mean to bring up a harsh topic there, but it's just like, I know that a lot of people out there are like, are you serious? The CDC's after, we're trying to make strides. You heard Richard Fain, and all of a sudden they come out with this. Oh, by the way, don't travel to 80% of the world's countries, and many of the countries in the Caribbean that are hosting ships this summer. It's just almost like a 1-2 punch. See the confidence for many travelers. So, like I said, it brings up a lot of frustrations and everything with this year.
Right. Well, I think the CDC's guideline is meant to be informative and, have people look into where they're going and make an educated decision about it. It's, reconsider travel. And I think that's people need to do what's comfortable for them. I don't necessarily think it's, needs to be a political thing, but I think that we have to weigh, we're all intelligent, independent people. We live in a country that is a free, independent thinking country, and we need to, we have to make the right decision for us when it comes to that kind of thing,
Well said. Well said. Let's see. So we do have some comments. We got about 5 minutes left, folks. Thank you all for sticking with us. We really appreciate it. I see so many people here watching us live. If you haven't hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel, hit our like on our Facebook page, or wherever you're at here, like, follow. It doesn't cost a thing, and we're here regularly. This video here will be available to rewatch if you're not watching us live. Please share, like, make a comment. Anything you can do to allow us to bring more of these live streams to you, and also more content as cruising gets restarted in the U.S. and around the world. But thank you very much. We really appreciate it. We've got some comments, Michael. I know we're running out of time here, but we've got Maravet. She says, hello, Maravet. Thank you so much for saying hello. We appreciate you being here on YouTube. And then we've got a question here. I booked the Bermuda Escape. Do you know if there will be tours or possibility of leaving the ship on our own? I don't know what Bermuda Escape is. Do you know? Does that make sense?
Yeah, the Bermuda Escape is the Viking Bermuda itinerary. And they will have short excursions available for booking in the My Viking Journey portal. They are getting them loaded. My understanding is they should be available in the next 10 days for people to book. You can, however, see some examples of the excursions that will be available on the website. If you click on the Bermuda Escape itinerary and then click on each day of the itinerary on the itinerary page, it will show you both the included and optional excursions. Unfortunately, the answer to your question about getting off the ship on your own is no. You will have to be with a Viking tour in order to go off the ship in Bermuda. So, so if you're somebody like me that just doesn't care and just is glad to be on a cruise ship, it's a great itinerary to go on. And if you like to, I did read the tours and see what was available. There are some very interesting tours that will provide some free time to shop and, that kind of thing. So I do think that even though you will have to be with a tour guide, there will be some flexibility in your ability to explore, but you will not be able to be off the ship without a Viking guide.
Great answer. Thanks so much for filling me in on that, Michael. And he says, Wes is joining us from YouTube. Hey, Wes, we have a really big group on Facebook. So if you want to come over to Facebook and join the Viking Cruises group, we'll get you signed up. We'll get you approved ASAP. So please join us in the Viking Cruises group on Facebook. Thanks for coming through on YouTube on the Cruise Addicts channel. And have fun on the Viking Orion. I'd like to be there with you. Trust me. That's an amazing ship. So we've got some more questions here. Do you think Russia and the Baltic Sea will travel in August? Great question.
Yeah, it's a great question. They did cancel the Waterways of the Tsars cruise, the river cruises that travel through Russia, simply because of the visa process required for those cruises. But the Russia and the Baltic Sea itineraries don't require a visa for you to be off the ship. So that was the main reason, I believe, that they canceled the Russia and the Baltic Sea. The Waterways of the Tsars itineraries on the river. So there's a good possibility your cruise will travel. I do think that Russia is a challenge right now with COVID and getting it under control. So that would be probably the biggest factor. In the event that it doesn't travel, then, I would recommend having a backup plan. To be honest, I recommend to all of my clients let's have a backup plan for August and September in the event they don't travel. So I would recommend having something, in your mind that you can do alternatively, whether it's move that trip to a different date or have a backup for the August trip that you have planned now.
And Michael asked, if not, will they cancel us? Looks like it's the same person.
Yeah. So if they're unable to get into Russia or make that stop in St. Petersburg, then most likely they will cancel the itinerary. And at that point, you would have the option, as many have in the past, to hopefully, depending on how you paid for the booking, get a refund or a voucher for 125% of what you paid. But that would vary by how you handled the payment for your trip.
All right, we've got the next question, Michael. Yvonne.
Yeah, I do think that that their businesses will be open in May. I think they're starting. Some of the information that we read about France is that they are opening, that their plan is to open restaurants and businesses slowly as well. So I would say by the time your trip travels, that you will, that the businesses and restaurants will be somewhat open, shortly after they open to travelers. Obviously, that's a big part of their economy is tourism. So the sooner the better, and I'm very confident that that will happen soon.
All right, we're down to our last question, and we're still here. So we got one more question. If travel to Hungary and Germany open up, and I hope they do, will the Christmas markets be open as previous years? Well, I love the Christmas markets.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that there's a plan for them not to have the Christmas markets this year. I mean, I think that it's kind of a wait and see right now. Obviously, the Christmas markets cruises are planning on traveling, and I would tend to believe that those countries would also continue to do their Christmas markets. You know, they set that up about 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. They start setting that up, so there's plenty of time for them to coordinate that. So I would certainly think that the Christmas markets would happen this year as we see these countries open up.
And we have another question just popped in. We really appreciate the questions. It's a great one too. Do the excursions that we booked in the Viking, I believe, transfer with the cruise as well? You know, you spend all this time booking these excursions and setting everything up, and all of a sudden it gets canceled. You know, if they transfer it to a new one, does it follow, or do they got to start all over again?
Yeah, so unfortunately they do have to rebook them, and that's because when Viking processes a cancellation or a suspension, and they process the vouchers, they take 100% of what you've paid and give you 125% of that. That means if you prepaid shore excursions, gratuities, beverage package, any amount of money that you've given them, they convert to 125% voucher and carry it over. So, but even if that weren't the case, even if you just were moving your booking from one date to another, you would have to go back and rebook those excursions because they're not automatically moved with you. Each sailing has its own bank of excursions, so those excursions would have to be rebooked.
Okay, thank you so much, Michael, for these answers and thank you all for these great questions. If you need to contact Michael, ask him any question, have him become your new favorite travel agent, you can call him at 1-800-913-7245 or email him at michael@planmycruise.com. And of course, visit his website at planmycruise.com. Why not have the 5-time top global Viking producer be your travel agent and just get it from the best. Thank you again, Michael, for being here. We appreciate your time. Thank you all for joining us at this different hour. This worked out great, Mike. We got a lot of people in the room today.
Yeah.
Streaming us. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel or followed us on Facebook or subscribed, it's all free. Please like us, give us a star, likes, comments, share it with your friends, and most of all, thank you so much.
Yeah. One last thing I just want to say, if you're interested in that Iceland itinerary, I encourage you to book it right away because the space will not last. Same goes for the Mississippi River 15-day itinerary. That itinerary also will sell very quickly. So those of you that have vouchers issued before this month can still use those vouchers to book those trips. So, and if I can help, I would love to. So thank you so much, John.
Yeah, so I've got a voucher and I could just go to Iceland this July. Why not, right?
Absolutely. We'll get you set up for sure.
So yeah, give Michael a call. You don't need to sit there and post on the group about your voucher being canceled, or just book this cruise right now and get it done.
That's right. We'll take care of it.
All right. Thank you all so much. Thank you all for following us along and staying with us and with all our connection issues and everything else. And have a wonderful day wherever you are. And here's to cruising in the future.
Thanks, John. See you later.
Bye. Have a great night, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.